Hello, YouTube. We are live, you guys. I'm a little tardy tonight, a little bit under the weather, but I was just writing some fire notes for tonight's session. I am so stoked you are joining me tonight for Business Chat 101. So glad you're here. This is a part of our workshop week that is going 10 days. It ends March 31st. Make sure you get your resource bundle. Link is in my bio. Link is in the description for those of you on YouTube. In fact, I will include it right here as well. And if you are needing replays to anything here, message me workshop so we can get you on the list. Because this whole 10 days, we're leveling up our homesteads and our businesses. Because if you have a dream to homestead, if you have a big farm dream, you need income to make it happen. And I've really cracked the code on that, and I feel really called to help other people crack the code on that in their business and in their dreams. And so that's why I'm here. I'm showing up. I'm putting in the work. I'm helping other people get to where they want to go. And tonight's message is going to be so good. I know you guys are going to get so much out of this. And so get your notepads out, get your note-taking device out on your phone, because we're going to just dive right into some really good stuff that took me a long time to learn that I wish that I had known sooner and that I didn't really understand at the onset. So thank you for the thumbs up on YouTube. And I just want to say shout out to those of you who guys have bought badges on Instagram. That's like a new feature to me, and I just it means so much. So thank you so much for choosing to support me in that way. And a huge shout out to those of you taking massive action. I have seen so many messages in my DMs this week about people taking action on the stuff that we're talking about. And if you are a person who's willing to take action on the free material, you are going to go places. Yeah, I see that fire emoji. You are going to go places because usually when it's free, it's like, I'll just listen and I'll see, I'll just let the wheels turn. But I am seeing action takers out there. And those are the people that are going to move mountains. So be an action taker, take action on this stuff. Don't just, absorb it, like go do something with it, because this is what's going to change your life. This is how you're going to level up your homestead, your income. Tune in daily. I'm trying to get all of this stuff pre-scheduled so you can tune in, get the notifications from Instagram. You can go to my workshops highlight and get all the notifications for the rest of our upcoming workshops, and on YouTube as well. We've got Jess from Roots and Refuge tomorrow, my friend Emily the following day, Rewild Carly Rose, and Amber from Grace Walk Farms, like all back to back. So it's going to be a really fun rest of the lineup. And then, of course, you get me every night. So let's just hop right into it. Guys, are you ready for this? Throw me some thumbs up in the chats, some fire emojis. Tonight is going to be so fire. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm so jazzed on that. Sometimes when I'm not feeling well, my ears get hot. So let's just do this. Yay, Jess. Hey, I see some hearts rolling through. Very cool. I see some clapping. Very cool. I see thumbs up. Very cool. Thank you so much. You guys are jazzed on this like me. All right, here we go. I see the thumbs up. Let's dive into this. So tonight is all about messaging, testing, grace, grit. Okay? Messaging, testing, grace, grit. So I wrote out some ideas for you guys that I really think are the important next steps for you. If you've been with us this far, we've talked about you got to know who you are. Then you got to know who you're helping. And then you got to know how you're helping them. Oh, look at those fire emojis, baby. Oh, it's hot in here. It's hot. You got to know those things to really set your business foundation up for success. If you don't know who you're talking to or why you're showing up, you're just going to create confusion for yourself and confusion for the consumer, confusion for your clients. So much fire. Ooh, I'm burning up. Just burn the sickness right out of me. Thank you, Lord. Oh my gosh, somebody's muffler is acting up and it sounds like craziness. Okay, thank you for all those fire emojis. So messaging, testing, grace, grit. You got to know who you are. You got to know who you want to help, and you want to know how you can help them. So for me, that looks like I am a homesteader helping people homestead wherever they are and level up their income through passive income. I still think that bio could be even better, but that's what I adjusted to for this week because I'm like, no, I'm stepping into this new identity, which is a whole other conversation. But I'm stepping into this new identity maybe I'll get more specific. For a while, it was like, "Oh, I help moms. I help moms," but I actually have a lot of males in my audience. I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know if that resonates because I think there's a lot of dudes who wanna know about passive income too." So, still playing with things, and we're gonna talk about that. There's grace, okay? There's grace when you level up. You don't have to have it perfect, and I think that's what a lot of us here struggle with is perfectionism, feeling like we have to have it right off on the onset, and you really don't. You really don't have to have it perfect, but you do need a system in place. You do need some things in place so that you can test them and you can see what resonates. So, all that to say, a shout out to the action takers. We did that. Um, here's line item number one for any note takers tonight. Okay, if your message is for any and everybody, it isn't for anybody. Okay, I'm going to say it again. If your message is for everyone, it ain't for nobody. Okay. So we talked a little bit about this earlier actually on the live with my friend Jill, which was so good. Oh my gosh, it was so fire. That live was probably one of my favorite lives. She's one of my dearest friends, so that, I'm probably biased, but seriously, there's so many nuggets of gold in that. Go back and watch that live. It was so good. But she and I both have been on this creator, business, entrepreneurial journey. And, at some point, we took the leap of faith and said, we're going to start creating content. Eventually, this is going to be our business. We believe this can fund our farm. Um, and we started with what we thought the idea was. And we thought the idea was to be vloggers. And we thought the idea was to like share the journey, right? But at some point, you hit this point where you're like, dang, like this isn't paying for my bills yet. And this is a lot of work. And yeah, you do have to put in the work. And yeah, it's not going to pay your bills right away. Though there are some things that can pay your bills right away, which we're going to talk more about as this week goes on. But if you're depending on social media platforms, which are so fickle these days, like don't depend on the social media platforms. Like you need to develop your own thing. And that's why messaging is so important. So you got to know who you are. You got to know who you're going to help. I'm going to keep saying it until the cows come home. Okay. You got to know who you are, who you're helping, and how you help them. And you want to help them overcome their pain points and reach their desires. And the hardest part of that is if you don't know who you're talking to, you don't know what they struggle with. So you don't know how to talk to them. You don't know how to empathize with them. You don't know how to relate with them. Um, Let me say that a different way because I really believe words are powerful. When you know your person, you know how to empathize with them, you know how to talk with them, you know how to help them. So I hope that's starting to click for you. And hopefully you caught the live earlier with Jill and saw like she and I have both been through the ringer with figuring out who is it that we're helping and how are we helping them. And so it's okay. You have to start somewhere. So your messaging is important. When you know those three things, you can really start to develop content and offers. So what I mean by that is like social media content as well as digital or physical products. Digital products are my favorite kind of products, and I'm going to be showing you guys how to make those as the week goes on. Um, but physical products are also really cool. E-commerce is really big right now, guys, and there's a reason that millionaires are in the making every day with e-commerce, but millionaires are also in the making every day with digital products. So let's us be some of those people, okay? All right, so if your message is for everybody, it ain't for nobody, okay? And Jill touched on this a little bit. I know I've certainly experienced this. I thought that I had to do all the things. And I will say too, if you're in the farming and homesteading community, you're a pretty well-rounded person. You know how to do a lot of things and you're very multi-passionate. And so it can be a struggle to identify one thing that you want to talk about, okay? But let me tell you, as somebody who really niched down into composting and then not just any kind of composting, but composting with worms, I started to see 10K paydays from that, you guys. Like, you cannot niche down harder, okay? I joke with my friends all the time. I'm like, you think you niche down? I niche down so hard. And I tested it. I was like, this is a test. And that's why you need your message and that's why you need your offer because you need to be able to test it and understand a couple of things. Like, is this in alignment with me? Is this really what I want to do? Am I seeing fruit from this? So, you got to know your messaging, who you are, who's your who, how are you helping them? How are you getting them from point A to point B? And when you know who that is and you're willing to niche down and you're willing to prune, just like a plant, we talked about this with Sean over the weekend, just like a plant. If you don't prune your plants, they might grow wild. It might look fun. It might be kind of exciting, but you're actually not going to get as much fruit. You can actually get more fruit from pruned plants, from well trained plants. So let's be willing to do that hard work of pruning ourselves. I know we're well-rounded people around here, multi-passionate, lots of things that we could talk about. Anything from canning to sourdough to, how to homestead, starting a homestead, apartment homesteading, like big time homesteading. There's so many different things that a lot of us here could talk about. Um, but my encouragement to you is start talking about one aspect of that. And it doesn't mean that you don't love the other things. It doesn't mean that you're not being authentic to yourself. Um, it won't reach your full potential. Yeah, exactly. You have to be willing to niche down to really reach that next level. That's exactly right. Oh, excuse me, guys. Allergy, cold. I don't know what's going on, but in the name of Jesus, burn it up out of my body. So sorry if you're listening with earbuds. Um, so your message is really important. Okay. So once you decide this is me, this is who I can help, this is how I help them, and this is the transformation that I offer, it's time to test it. And you have to start testing that with content. So you can start creating content here on Instagram, TikTok, God willing, it doesn't go away, other social media platforms, and you can test it and see what works. And really, when you can offer that in like an attractive format that speaks to your ideal customer, that's how you're really going to make your messaging magnetic. Um, so, uh, a way like, here's a very simple way that you could start testing this offer that we're talking about, okay? So start testing your content. You could start saying, "I remember when dot, dot, dot. I remember when I was so overwhelmed with the idea of homesteading. I remember when I killed my first garden. I remember when that first canning or that first sourdough did not go according to plan. Now we make sourdough every day. In fact, we started a bakery, or now we compost on autopilot with worms, or now we whatever it is that you do, okay? So you remember when that point of struggle, and now we where you are. They're desired where they want to be, okay? Are you seeing this? So you're painting the desire for people. Um, and this is how, oops, sorry. And you can too. And you can too. And here's one way you can start today and start to offer those tidbits of information to people and see if that doesn't land with them. And if it does, then great, keep doing it. And if it doesn't, you might need to stick with it a little bit if you don't have much of a following yet, just to kind of keep testing. But you got to keep showing up. You got to keep showing up. And the way that you do that is with content and making those offers. So the other thing that you got to start doing, if you're not doing it already, is make a freebie. And this is so important because creating your freebie is another way to practice your messaging and understanding how do you help people and how do you get them from point A to point B. And one of my favorite ways to do that is in Canva, just making little ebooks, little PDFs, little checklists. Um, and how you deliver it, that and all of that is like a little bit outside of the scope of tonight's conversation, but I like Canva and I use Flowdesk. So if you're looking for two platforms that are really easy to use, I like Canva and you can deliver it through Flowdesk. And a really easy way to do that is just put the link in your bio and say, hey, you want this thing? Go check it out. Links in bio. Although some platforms, excuse me again, guys, I'll mute myself this time. Sorry, YouTube. You're getting the full sniffle action. And so it's really important to put that in the link in your bio and make it really clear. This is what I'm helping you with. This is where you can go get that thing. And what's great about that is as you start to promote that freebie and you know your message and you're like, hey, so let's say you make a piece of content, right? Let's make this really concrete. You make a piece of content and you're like, I remember when I killed my first sourdough starter. I felt so devastated. I was like, am I ever going to get this homesteading thing? This is so hard. Everybody makes it look so easy. And I just killed my starter and I felt so ashamed and so embarrassed. And I really doubted, would I ever be able to bake bread? But now I am baking bread every day whenever I want, and my sourdough starter is more active and more alive than ever, and we have amazing sourdough bread to eat whenever, wherever we want. In fact, we love our sourdough so much that we started a bakery, and now we help other people learn how to bake with sourdough. Um, so you're starting to paint that picture of you know what it's like to be there, but you're on the other side of it. Where's my little and by the way, you can too. You don't have to start with a bakery. Do what we did and start with your home kitchen. And here is a tip on how you can get started today. I've got a freebie. You can go check that out, link in bio. Um, and you want to also offer that in the content. So you could say something like, make sure you have a really awesome sourdough starter that's got wild yeast from your area. And here's how to find that. Can't find that? Don't worry. We got you covered. We've got sourdough packets for sale in our store. Like, check out the link in our bio. And so that's where it's really important to be able to share that story. And that's a little bit of a nurturing piece of content. So you're talking to people who are already following you, but that might also invite people into your story too of like, oh wow, this person has been on this zero to hero journey and I want that. Your zero to hero journey is really important for your message. So it's really important to outline where you've been and where you are and how you can help people get there. So once you've got that freebie down, and this is my secret system, okay, I'm giving you the secret sauce tonight. My secret system is create a freebie, test your messaging, test your offer, see if that's resonating with people, see if that feels right for you. Elevate that to an ebook. That's what I did. And literally, I put it on my site and I started seeing thousands of dollars roll in. It was insane for like a $10 product at the time. I remember I actually hit the cap at 500 with Etsy, and I got this notification that was like, "We've put your store on vacation mode." This was just last year, last April, no, March, and I was like, "You've hit the cap for this year at $500, and you have to update your tax information." And long story short, I got locked out of my Etsy account. I got um, I got forced into vacation mode. I had people hearting my shop, messaging me, trying to get this thing, and they couldn't get in because I had basically given you're welcome. Um, I had basically given my authority over my product to a separate platform. And so this is why I really recommend hosting your product on a store like Shopify, or again, a really simple way for emails and for hosting that product, that freebie is Flowdesk. Um, I have recently upgraded to Kajabi because this is a conversation again for another time, but because I have multiple offers, it makes it really easy to send people through what's called a funnel, which again is a conversation for another time. But basically laying out the ground, the path for them of like start here, and then I'm going to nurture you, and hopefully I can get you into this next thing, and hopefully I can get you into this next thing because I really believe if you're here, these things are really going to serve you actually better than this thing. If you want to just hang out here in the free world, that's okay. But if you're ready to compress your time and like really get max results, I know how to get you there. So like you really need this thing. I don't sell anything I don't believe in. So it's really important to really believe in what you're offering. And you might have a little bit of imposter syndrome at first, but guess what? You are an expert in something. You are an expert in something. And I don't want you to ever forget that. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the badge. That is so sweet of you. It always catches me off guard. I'm just like not used to it at all, this whole badge thing. I didn't even know that like I could receive badges. It's like very new to me this week. It's very sweet of you. Thank you so much. Um, and so anyway, back to my like secret system. It's really not a super secret system, but a lot of us aren't doing it. And so I talk with my friends. I'm like, where are your digital products? How are you helping people without having to like hustle and grind? Like digital products take the hustle and grind out because you make it once and sell it over and over and over again. And that's what I started to see when I launched my Shopify store. So I had the huge problem with Etsy, launched Shopify, and literally that month, I think we hit like 2,500 in sales on a digital product. I literally made it one time. I made one successful video that I keyword the dickens out of, hoping that people would find me for that video. And it's so funny. Like, let's talk about dealing with haters for a second. I knew very intentionally when I made this video that I was stuffing it with keywords because I realized that YouTube was listening to me. Every platform is listening to us and every word that we say and every keyword that we use. So this is another important thing about knowing you, knowing your who, knowing your message, knowing where you want to take people, because then you can put the keywords in there um, so that people know uh, so that basically when people are searching for something, you're more likely to pop up. So the keyword that I went for was how to start a worm farm. And that's one of my most popular videos. It just crossed like 120K, which is really cool. And it brings in sales all the time. And that's the beauty of having content, is that when you make the content and you make it the right way, keyword optimized, in my opinion, you can bring in sales on autopilot and you don't have to worry about paid advertising or showing up every day on social media. So it's a really cool thing when you know how to make content the right way. And it all starts with knowing you, knowing who, knowing the transformation so that you can offer those keywords that make sense to your people. And so I knew that I really wanted to help people with composting because it was a huge problem for me. I got really into it, still super passionate about it. And I was like, okay, let's just keyword stuff this video. And so let's talk about the haters for a second. I get haters on that video all the time because they're like, oh, nice infomercial at the front. What else do they say? Like, oh, barely got past the commercial, or like too much talking, too little information. But for every one of those comments that I get like 20 other comments. They're like, this was so good. I really needed this. Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. Um, and so I talked earlier on the live with Jill about I have this little mantra and I see it in my head anytime there like is a hater or a troll online. And I encourage you to develop one too as you're stepping out in faith and believing in yourself and in your business. Develop a mantra and something that you visualize, a word that you hang on to. Mine is just blocking out the haters. And it's from this meme of a video of this kid back in like the early 2000s. He puts his little spoons on his eyes and he goes, "Mm, just blocking out the haters." And it is so funny. It makes me laugh every time, and it takes the sting right out of anything that that person had to say. And I know at the end of the day that I am here to serve people. And if those people don't like the way that I'm serving, then okay. But guess what? Me setting my video up like that, like got you into my world, and it is bringing people into my world, and it's turning into sales. And so I think that video a lot for those sales that we got as we opened our Shopify store. And if I can do the 2,500 in sales with a digital product at $10, like you guys could totally do that. Um, and that's what's so cool. And that's just one product. So imagine having multiple products, multiple streams. Haters are going to hate. Yes, they are. What's up, Naked Gardeners? Do your thing, girl. Thank you. So yeah, haters are going to hate. And I recommend to you guys to have that mantra and to just be true to yourself. And that's why we're still talking about it, like knowing your who, knowing your you, knowing where you're going and what you're offering people. All right, so create that freebie, test it, start offering it, get the feedback, turn it into an ebook. Eventually, you can create a course once you have enough feedback, and then. And this is the slow way to do it. There are faster ways to do this. If you're like, I want to do my course, there are other ways, but I'm just saying, like, this is the way that's worked for me. Especially, I know a lot of us here are just like getting the wheels turning, and so this is like a beginner friendly conversation. But there are other ways to validate your offer before it ever even hits the market. And so if that's something that you're interested in talking about, just shoot me a DM, and I'll find a way to kind of incorporate that. But um, there are ways to validate your offer. And a really simple one is just to go on YouTube and see if people are looking for the thing that you're thinking about making. And honestly, this is the same for anything that you look at, any product development. You want to look at what's out there. You want to see if there's any way that it could be improved and then offer that improvement. So, excuse me. Let's say you want to develop. What are we going to develop, guys? Give me some ideas here. What's a product that you know of that you're like, it actually could be better though? Name it off. I'm gonna wait for you guys. Random items that are coming to my brain are like shovels, sponges, oh, plungers. What else? Uh, let's think too in broad category terms. Like for me, worm farming was super boring before I came around. Like not to be too big for my britches, but literally when I got started sharing my content, it was literally old men in their basement, like showing time lapses of their worms eating food. It was like, this is so boring. Um, so somebody name off a product that they deal with every day that they're like, hey, this product could be better though. This product could be better though. What is it? What are you guys thinking of? What are some other categories? It could also be, yeah, like these more broad categories of like information. So again, like worm farming was pretty lame when I got started, which is why I decided to like fill that gap. What else? Trying to think of something that I encountered recently. Belts. I love it. Okay, so belts. So what's one way that belts could be better? What's the problem that you're facing with belts? Why do they suck? Or why are they not as good as they could be? I'm trying to think of belts. You know what one improvement could be is if you could have like a magnetic strip on the end of the belt so that it like lays flat. Anytime I use a belt, that end kind of ends up popping out. Mine needs more holes. Okay. That's a whole that's a whole thing right there. But that is a whole thing right there. So, so you could develop a line of belts that are extra long with extra holes. And I'm trying to think of um, how you would kind of message that. I mean, I'm immediately thinking of like older farm men who just need more belt space, man, more belt space. Oh, power tools for women that work well. Ooh. Okay, so now that I've been on this whole like marketing and branding thing, it's so crazy because you guys will say this stuff and I get this whole like brand picture in my head. Like I hear you say that and I'm like, ooh, like Ryobi, but like women. That is so good. Personally, I that's too many moving parts for me. I would never do a physical product that's like that high for me, that would be high risk because there's like safety issues involved. Um, and oh, it's a good question. We have a good question coming in from YouTube. I see that and I'll get to that too. Uh, but yeah, so you could develop the whole line. So, like, let's think about the pain points related to tools for women. First of all, I don't think there is any tool out there on the market designed for women. We were just talking about this with Sean on our live the other day of how he actually designed his broad fork with women in mind. And he was like seeing these women struggle on the farm, and his broad fork is designed so that when you move your weight at the hips, that's what releases the broad fork and helps move the ground, which was huge. Such a great concept and so needed in the marketplace. So, pain points are they're maybe too big or too heavy, or they don't move the way we need them to. And so, designing things ergonomically for women, and then, you can create a whole message around that too of like, I remember when I was struggling on the farm just to use these tools, I knew that I could half the farm of my dreams, but it was such a waste of time to be using these tools, lugging them around when I'm a petite woman, but I have a big farm dream or whatever it is. Like, there's so many different ways you can take it. Um, but yeah, so you want to know the pain points of that person. And so, is it that it's too heavy? Is it that it doesn't work well? Is it that it's not ergonomic for the body type? Like, those are the pain points that I'm thinking of. And then let's paint the desired outcome of like, imagine imagine being able to get twice as much work done simply because your tool is half as heavy. Um, well, I'm trying to think of what their desired pain points are. Imagine, I mean, I don't really like comparing men and women because whatever, but imagine being able to build faster than a dude, or build faster than a. I'm trying to think of like if it increases your speed, does it save you time? Does it increase your speed? Does it get you closer to your dream goal faster? Those are usually like metrics that you want to talk about. Um, Oh, that's so cool. You purchased a broad fork because of the interview. I love that. And so, yeah, heavy and cumbersome. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like those tools either that are heavy and cumbersome. Like, I'm so glad that Sean is stepping into that space and developing tools that are more ergonomic for smaller body types, including women. We got an interesting question here on my roadblock is the legal side. Okay, first of all, love you, friend, but try to watch your language on this. Okay, so roadblock, um, like you want to be careful that you're not hanging yourself up, right? So maybe if you could rephrase that in your mind, just to like the thing I'm ready to overcome is instead of saying it's your roadblock, it's just a little tweak and it's no hate to you at all. I'm just saying if you're gonna hang out with me, I'm gonna call you out on language and mindset because I want to help you like reach that next level. And so try not to say anything's in your way, right? Like everything's in your capacity to change and overcome. I'm in CA as well. I've been stuck on the legal side of it. What licensing or permits do you need when starting these home-based businesses? I don't want to give away my money, but I don't want any fines. That's a great question, and it really depends on what kind of business you're starting. Um, my personal, and this is not legal advice or tax advice or anything like that, but what I think is most important is actually setting up an LLC and then talking with the people that help you set up that LLC and getting all of that squared away. And actually, if you're in California, if you go to the California website for business, I don't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but there is actually a checklist of like, this is what you need to have in place. And so I would just say, look at that checklist. I think having an LLC is really important. It gives you extra protection. It allows you, my favorite thing about having an LLC is it allows you to have your own bank account to keep everything really clean for taxes. So it's like, okay, this is where the money gets deposited, and this is where I take money out of for the business. So it's like this perfect little closed loop thing. And again, this is not legal or tax advice. I think having an LLC has been a real game changer for us. And I would just look at your site, your state's uh, website, and see if they have any checklists. I know in California that we have a checklist. Cali, Texas would be like a mafia shakedown. Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but again, like if that's going to be your mindset, you gotta overcome that mindset. Seriously, fees and regulations for no rational reason. I want to fly under the radar and at least get some tax benefits out of it. Um, Again, I hear you, but you got to start somewhere. And one of the cool things about digital products is um, there are some tax loopholes there, and it's a lot less to manage. And so that's another reason why I love digital products. But I digress. Excuse me. So here's the good news: is you got to start somewhere, and you got to stick with it. So I started this entire process back in 2018. I gave myself 5 years. For whatever reason, that was the time I gave myself. And it's this summer, we'll be entering our fifth year, which is so crazy, which is so crazy to think about. But here's the thing that I would tell you guys is it took me until hitting year 4 to say, I'm worthy of investing in. My dream is worthy of investing in. Because up to that point, I had not invested in any courses. I had not invested in myself. I had not invested in any help. I had not invested in any resources that were going to help me basically expedite the process. I had been trying to just watch YouTube videos, watch things for free, and it took me a lot longer to figure it out the free way. I wish that I had known I could invest in myself sooner, but I just wasn't there yet. And so I'm telling you now, as my friends here online, like, don't be scared to invest in yourself. Set aside some money that's like, hey, I can invest in myself, or ask that mentor, say, hey, are you mentoring anybody? Do you have slots available? I'd really love to be able to talk with you. Um, and so you got to be able to say, it's time to invest in me. It's time to invest in my dream. Um, and yeah, so hire the consultant and talk to that person at church to see if they're mentoring. It's really important. And remember that just as that is a pivot in many ways, you can pivot your offer and your message at any time. And that's why the testing portion of things is so important, right? So we've talked about messaging, we've talked about testing. Now I want to talk a little bit with you about grace, okay? So there has to be grace for you in this as much as there is grit. You have to say, I'm going to stick with this for X amount of time. There's a content creator on here who's like 30 days of reels. Do 30 days of reels and set yourself up to just stick with it for 30 days. A lot of people say, oh, it's like 31 days to a habit, 21 days to a habit, some people say. Be willing to set that time frame for yourself, whatever it is. For me, 5 years. I just, that was my number. I read something and I was like, okay, it's going to take me at least 5 years to figure this out. All right, let's do it. But figure out that number and be willing to say, I'm going to keep showing up even when life gets hard. I'm going to keep showing up because I believe in the vision. I believe in my dream. I believe whatever that is. And I don't encourage people to do a why thing because for me personally, when I get too hung up on the why, it ends up becoming this weird guilt trip. Like a lot of um, digital creation, product creation mentors will be like, you got to hang on to your why because the days are going to get tough. And um, I don't know. That's never really resonated with me. But if that resonates with you, go for it. Pick your why, set it somewhere that you can see it every day, like they recommend, and stick with it. I think I just know my why so intuitively in my heart that I'm like, I know we're destined for this farm and I know we're going to get there. So I'm just not going to quit until we do because I'm going to figure this out. I know I'm meant to have that thing and do that thing. So I'm not going to quit. And that's just me. If you're wired differently and you need to spend some time on it, you need to put it somewhere that you can see it, then do that. Um, but don't let it get into a guilt trip for you, okay? It's okay. So have the grit, but have the grace to pivot as well. There have been so many times where I've had to pivot. I look back on like early videos and I'm like, wow, actually, there were a lot of things that I did right, but there were a lot of things that I didn't understand either. um, And that's okay. There were a lot of things that I thought I stood for, and I thought I was talking about all 7 topics, and I thought that if I, didn't talk about natural living and only talked about composting, that I was, like, sacrificing my authenticity, and it's like, "No, just pick one thing and learn to talk about that thing really well and let that be the thing that helps you level up." And, like, even right now, I'm in a huge level up process where it's not perfect, but I know that God is calling me to help other people with their businesses and to develop digital products. And I started doing it for free for my friends because I love it so much and I believe in it so much. And I've seen the fruit of it in my life. And literally, you need a sign from the universe. It took me 4 people back to back, day after day. Literally, I was helping people back to back. And every single person was like, Natalie, why aren't you charging me for this time? Like, what can I do for you? And I was like, oh, because I love it. Next person, Natalie, are you going to send me a bill for this? This was really good. This helped me a lot. I had a friend that I helped develop a digital product for. She made like thousands of dollars selling that digital product right off the bat. Like the amount that she did actually pay me, the amount that she paid me, she made tenfold the first day of releasing that product. And so again, don't be afraid to hire the people that you need to hire. But anyway, back to the whole like God sending signs. That kept happening. And after 4 days, I was like, okay, apparently I'm supposed to help other people with their businesses. And that has always been at the core of, hey, it's a good life. And you might have a core that you haven't peeled the layers back to. So to borrow from Shrek, like be like an onion, you might start on these outer layers, but as you kind of like dig deeper and keep going, like you might find that you're peeling back these layers. And I've always known this about myself. I've always said, hey, when we crack the code on funding our farm dream, I'm going to pass it along to the next person because I want that. I want everybody to have their farm. I want everybody to have their dream life. And now I know that even though we're not on the farm yet, like I know what it's going to take to get there and I can help people. I've already proven it. I've already helped other people make money in their businesses with, different offers and ideas. So it's like, it's time to level up. And that sometimes is scary, but I also know I'm called to do it. So give yourself grace and grit. Be willing to keep showing up, but be willing to pivot when you need to pivot. And like I always say, there's a little Ross Geller that lives in my head. He can live in your head too, and he can yell pivot anytime you need to pivot. Okay, you're allowed to have grace, but it's both. It's grace and grit. Um, so leveling up, totally a valid reason. That's valid enough to pivot. It's valid enough if something is not in alignment with you too. So let's say you decide what your message is, right? And you start making that content. You make your freebies. Maybe you even make your ebook. Maybe even make your course. And you realize this is in alignment with me. Okay, that's fair enough. It might not be in alignment with you. And that's why I love the idea of starting with something free and testing it and seeing if it checks out with your spirit and your heart because it's such a low cost way. You haven't put like for me, it took me 6 weeks to write the curriculum for my course, and then it took 3 days of nonstop filming to film it, which really is not that much time, especially for how much it's yielded me over time. Make it once, sell it while you sleep. It's a beautiful thing about a digital product. But anyway, that was a lot of time. That was a lot of time away from my baby, a lot of time making stuff, doing stuff, no regrets. Absolutely love the whole process. Love that we have that course. But test it with a freebie first, and see if it's in alignment with you. And for me, it was. I was like, I love this. I love that I get to help people with this thing, with composting. And so that's why I kept going for it. So all that to say, don't be scared. Test your message, get it out there into the world. Be willing to have some grit and keep showing up. Have grace for yourself when you need to pivot. And don't be scared to invest in yourself. Seriously, like if you've been eyeing that course, if you've been eyeing that mentor, if you've been thinking about taking that next thing, like expedite your time and do it because it's going to compress your time and help get you there faster. And look for people who have good guarantees too. Like there's usually good guarantees out there. Oh my gosh, so itchy. Excuse me. Um, and yeah, and look at the testimonials, look at the reviews, see if the people are going where you want to go. And you are all the grace and grits. Thank you so much. So yeah, hopefully this has been helpful for you guys tonight. Don't be scared to take the leap of faith into your dream. You can turn that into a business seriously as you start to share that message online, start to create offers, freebie, ebook, course, consultations eventually. Why not? The sky is the limit on what you can create. You are an expert in your own right. You have something wonderful to share with people, and it's just about finding that thing. Bless my heart. I hope you feel better. Thank you so much. All right, that's all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I will catch you guys tomorrow live with Jess. Got another one of these business chats tomorrow as well, and I will see you then. Have a great night.